Mic check. Yo. I hope you guys can hear me. Let's see. All right, cool. Yo, thanks, guys. So I think I mentioned before that, like, in the past, I have been approaching, like, streaming and stuff. It's not actually streaming. I just been, like, recording in the studio and then kind of coming up with some high concept ideas about what the video is going to be about. I think the last one I did was, like, that Massive X serum and phase plant kind of, like, not really comparison, but just showing you how I use it. So that was like, that actually, like, took me a long time to put together. Probably way too much time, actually. I probably was spending too much time on that. But I figured that this was like a good opportunity to just kind of show you what I'm doing in the studio every day. I've been working my ass off on a bunch of stuff. And yeah, it sucks. Like, I'm sure you can kind of relate to that feeling of, like, being in the studio every day, busting your ass, and everyone out there doesn't really realize that you're doing that because you don't have any new music out. I just put out that remix for Moody Good, but that's like, was like me just saying, like, yo, I'm still alive doing shit. But I've actually been in here fucking working my ass off, and I'm sure you have too. So now I'm thinking, like, fuck, like, all my shows just got canceled. A lot of people's shows just got canceled. I canceled a lot of shit that was coming up. But I mean, I've been in here, so I just figured, like, I would open it up, like, open up a window. And I'm sure now a lot of you guys are going to be at home a lot too, working on shit. And the good news is, like, I think a lot of people that have been out on tour and stuff, or have been on that grind, like, feeling like, maybe you guys have been feeling like there's, like, this pressure that you got to, like, get shit done and get some tunes out so you can, like, hopefully get out there and start playing some shows or whatever. But now it's kind of feels like, because of this coronavirus thing, that there's, like, time. But in reality, there's always been time to, like, it's like, it's up to us to make time, right? So anyway, I'm not going to talk too much. I just want to make sure first that this stream works. So I'm just going to place. So this project here, this is an older project. I don't know if you guys remember that track Mine that I put out, like, on my last album, and, like, Getter did a remix of it and stuff. But I really love the production and stuff on this. And I actually, like, wasn't sure what direction to go with that track back in the day. So I ended up making, like, a whole bunch of different versions of it. But I kind of, like, brought this one back from the dead because I think there's some really cool ideas in here. I'm just going to play it. Let me know if this is, like, too loud or too quiet. And it goes into this part. Which I thought was cool. So I played, like, some guitar on this thing. I can tell that I made it a long time ago, but I feel like the bones of it are pretty cool. Like there's a lot of cool samples and stuff. Um, I was like trying a bunch of different ideas. I actually went back into this today and like worked on it a little bit more. Um, but I thought there was like a lot of cool sounds that don't really. I don't know if you guys do this too, but like I'll go back to old tracks that I started working on, like I don't know, sometimes years ago, and I'll be like, damn, there's some really good ideas in here, and it doesn't sound like trendy to me. Like that's the biggest thing I think that's been going on lately is that I hear a lot of tracks that sound like they're trying to sound like whatever the big tracks are at the moment. And I feel like a really easy way to kind of get out of that way of thinking is just to like kind of go back to some of your old records that you're working on, like maybe a year or two ago, or maybe even longer, and then kind of bring them into the new age with like new shit that you learned and all that kind of stuff. I feel like that's um, a really cool way actually to even revisit ideas that you thought were really sick that you got stuck on. I have a ton of shit like that. So anyway, I figured this was like a cool opportunity for me to like, and actually I know that there's been a couple people that reached out that were like, yo, I have like a work in progress that I want to send to you. Maybe like you could like, I don't know what you guys would want me to do. I'm not against that idea. Maybe we can do that like later this week or something, this weekend or next week or something like that. Um, but I was going to do that with like one of my tracks, you know, uh, just because it might be interesting to people out there. And I actually really like this song. There's some cool shit going on in here. But let me like, if this sounds good to you, if like the volume of the track and my voice sounds good to you, I'm going to put it live for everybody else. I'm going to like tweet it out real quick if you guys don't mind. All right, let me just do this real quick. And then I'll show you guys everything I got going on here. And some of the new kind of like production techniques as well, obviously. Because a lot of what's going on here is actually kind of old. So I think it'll be kind of fun to mess around with. Let's see here. I got a chat going too with like the Ophelia guys. I'm hoping that some of them will jump in at some point and talk. All right. Sorry. Sorry, I'm just fucking tweeting this shit out. Let's see here. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'll play that. Okay, so it's going to be hard for me to like read what people are writing and talk about it. So, um I'm just going to work on some shit for a little bit and then we'll go back and forth a little bit if you guys got some questions and you want to understand some more stuff, but I have like a one track mind. I don't know if you're like that too. It's like hard for me to focus sometimes when I'm trying to do two things at once. But anyway, so I was thinking like, let's listen to what we got so far. So I got this really cool sample from this like kind of old school indie rock band. And then I do have Scar's vocals still in here. I was thinking about like fucking around with them a little bit. These came out really nice. So the drop is kind of cool on this. I almost kind of feel like it sounds better as like a bridge or like a hook or something. And what actually might be kind of cool too is to like have, so this noise too. It's actually using the Ableton vocoder. It's actually me recording my voice, which sounds horrible. You ready? I'm going to turn off the vocoder. You're mine. You're mine. You're all mine. So there you go. Like but with the vocoder, it sounds cool. And I'm using it as a control, like a Reese sound that I made in Massive. So if I unfreeze this, you can take a look. Fucking Massive. How many of you guys use Massive still? Super simple. I think that would be so much more poignant if it was like just the voice. Like the drop shouldn't be everything at the same time. In fact, I would just do a totally different drop. So I think I'm going to like mute some of the drums here and just focus on making this part cooler somehow. And by the way, this thing has, I should probably just export this snare. There's a lot of layers to what's going on here. As a transient. All these different layers. I'm thinking it would be kind of cool, like, if you guys ever heard that remix that I did with Virtual Riot of Without a Trace. Like, there's, like, some of the older tracks I did, like that Nero remix I did back in the day, and, like, that Without a Trace thing. There was, like, this big kind of, like, dramatic buildup. Or it'd be cool if it was like drops here. Then have it go like boop, 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 and then drop into some shit. Maybe that could be kind of cool. I think we need a better kick though, for sure. The kick kind of sounds a little weak. It's like a trap kick, kind of. Which is, you know, it is what it is. It's kind of cool, I guess, but I think we'd be better with another kick. So typically, like, when I set up projects, I, like, have a couple different kits that I put in right away. And it kind of has, like, some of my go-to stuff going on. I'm sure maybe some of you are like that. But, like, for example, I got this kick. This is the one I used from that, like a bitch remix I did for Zomboy. Just has, like, a really nice transient. I do think could use just, like, a little bump. Hear that? Like at 100, somewhere around there. Sometimes I just use the EQ8 to figure out what I'm going to do. And then I end up using like Pro Q3 or something. Because I like using dynamic EQs for things. Depending on the sound. And something like a kick drum, you can see like there's movement going on here. I want to accentuate some of what's happening, you know? So you can like actually do like a little bit of like a boost. I used to do this with like Voxangle Gliss, if you guys remember that plugin. I don't know if you still use Gliss, but that was like the first dynamic EQ that I really had. So it's just like a little bit more transparent sounding. It's not like overtly aggressive. So whatever. Maybe you notice that difference, maybe you don't. Probably not. But whatever. I notice it. Then have it drop into something there. Maybe I don't know what it could be, but I think it could be kind of cool. So we can make some sounds in Serum maybe. Doing like wavetable stuff. That could be pretty cool. Let's see. Or I could use maybe some sounds that I've already made. Yeah, that's kind of cool. So I'm going to take all this shit out and just put it over there for now. Here's my little guitar. It's going to flatten this for now. You know, actually, I'm going to do that for a second. One of the things I like to do, just to save the MIDI, and like if I want to play some different notes later, I like duplicate the channel and freeze one and flatten, and then just turn this one off. Because now I can do cool shit with like reversing. So it's cool. We kind of got like a little turnaround, which could be really cool later on. Cool. Get rid of some of these hats. You know, that could be kind of cool too. Trying to figure out in my head how this should sound going into this part. So put a snare there. There's like a little, yeah. Oops. Got these weird trap hats up here. I don't know why. All right, there we go. So. So it'd be kind of cool to have it go. Voop, voop, voop. I wonder what kind of I think like I'm just gonna go with like some of the more obvious routes at first and then kind of make it cooler as we go. I just want to get the this cool like little fake drop set up first. Let's see. All right. So I got hats here. I'm gonna move some of these over. See, I don't want it to go into that till later. I want the rest of that guitar stuff to happen later. So let's take a look at this shit. Just kind of get rid of this for now. Just this stuff. All right. I think I'll start making some synth stuff. So now I got this set up. So I'm imagining it'd be like. Fucking loud cymbal. Boom. So it'd be cool if there's like a little mini build there. And then I got this side chain up here. I like flip flop back and forth between using like the old school style of side chaining in Ableton with like a key, and then this gets sent to, like you'll see here, the compressor. You guys already know how to do all this shit, right? Sometimes that's cool to do it that way. I like the sound of it sometimes. So I like create like a bus here, and this is going to be like all my synth sounds and shit like that. Typically I'll like put an EQ here. Fucking have it set up already to cut at 160. I already noticed I made a mistake by putting my sub in here. But I can just move that out of the group. I think I'm just going to set up like a regular sidechain situation up here. So this is going to be my my sidechain channel. And then I'm going to put, volume shaper over here. Y'all already know how to do this shit, I'm sure. I feel like using volume shaper is really good for really clinical cuts. Like you can make some interesting curves with this thing, but I always use it when I want like it's just like a really hard surgical sidechain. I like using a compressor if I'm like making house music or if I'm making like trap sound and stuff, just because it has a little bit more of like a organic feel to it. It has like some bleed, which I'm sure you could probably program Volume Shaper to sound that way, but I guess it's just about speed ultimately. So I don't know. I think for this drop though, I want it to sound really kind of like hard and clinical. Then I don't know what the drum pattern is going to sound like when it drops. I guess we'll figure that out later. I'm thinking like, for now, I'm just going to do like a typical dubstep kick snare thing. Also, by the way, on my master right now, all I have is a glue compressor. I'm just going to turn it off. All it's doing is just kind of like bringing up the volume right now. It's not aggressive settings at all. So I like the idea of like somehow turning this riff here. Like turning that into some kind of cool drop. Because I really love how this sounds. So let me duplicate this thing. I'm gonna flatten this for now. So there's like some guitar stuff that I played in. It's got like a weird guitar rig flanger on it. Yeah, I kind of want that to sound a little stereo. One thing you can do, I don't really like to use like width widening plugins. I mean, people use those, and sometimes I use them. I guess they sound all right sometimes, but what I would rather do actually is, without even having to, I'll record some more guitar later. I was actually trying to figure out, I just didn't want to bite off too much on this first stream. I just want to make sure that this shit sounded all right, mostly. And I was able to competently put this all together, but I think later this week I'll like hook up the guitar and stuff and mess around with some ideas. But one way you can do this with any sound really, without using, the thing I don't like about using like a widening plugin is that sometimes it creates like artifacts and like weird phasing issues. Like a lot of times, I'm sure you guys have noticed that like sometimes when you use like a widening plugin, like an imager, I'm not going to name any names. It'll sound good in stereo, but like when you put it in mono, everything kind of like disappears. It just has to do with like the algorithm, like the way that, you know, it's really hard to, I guess, process beyond a certain point, like all these kind of like signals. And they're not perfect. They're not an actual different recording. They're like synthesizing, I guess, like a chorus effect, basically, and then panning that. So it's like a lot of digital stuff going on that's like creating artifacts and weird aliasing and all that kind of shit. So that's why I'm not like a fucking crazy scientist when it comes to DSP, but that's what I hear. I just hear like a really digital attempt at making something sound like it's wide. So a better way to do it, from my experience at least, is to duplicate the channel, especially something like a guitar chug like this or like a bass sound. I got a couple different ones that sound a little different. And I think literally I can just like move these around, like put this one over here. You can like literally see that the waveform is just slightly different. That's like enough. And then just pan one this way and pan this other one that way. And you'll hear immediately it just sounds bigger. Subtle. It's more natural, you know? I get every once in a while I get questions about that. Like I like really try to think about what's happening in the stereo spectrum and try to achieve that through like the most natural way that I can. So I would rather make other things mono to let certain other things feel really stereo than try to make everything feel stereo with like an imager. Like I see a lot of people put imagers on their master. I try not to put anything on my master, really, except for very few things, you know? I try to do a lot of that stuff on the buses to try to get things to sound bigger. And stereo. Stereo is huge. See right there, you can see this one's just like a... See, but if I move this here, it's like immediately stereo. Cool, I can even do this. And at this point, I can just copy these ones over. This one's gonna be a little tricky. Actually, no, it won't. I'm just gonna do that. And then I'm gonna do this. All right, maybe that's something you didn't know. I can hear this little side chain going crazy up here. So anyway, let's hear the difference. Now that we got this stereo thing going on here. You can hear where it goes mono again. It's definitely made a difference. Nice. Let's look at the snare. I like that the ring in there. What do we got going on here? Just a fucking combination of shit. This is always one of the things that really gets me about drums. It's like when you listen to the layers, like they sound so little. It sounds so tiny compared to... I think we can make that sound way better. It's an old V-dub snare. Vengeance dubstep. You guys remember that shit? My God. That is a mess. There's some cool noises in there, though. That sounds pretty cool. Sounds pretty cool. I got a lot of cleaning up to do, I think, at some point here. Yeah, I think the one thing I really want to do is I want to turn that riff into like a main part of the drop. Like layer like a really fucking cool bass sound underneath it. You know what I'm saying? Like kind of like that Duality remix I did. I don't know if you guys remember that shit. Duality. Yeah. This one. But do you remember this shit? Let me see if I can find it. Jake Stanzak. Duality. What the fuck? I know I have it. I fucking made the song. I can't believe I don't know where it is. Duality. There it is. So it dropped kind of like this one. Oh, shit. It's like something like that, you know? We're a little ways away from that. I don't think we're that far off, to be honest with you. Something that sounds fucking heavy like that. It's kind of cool, man. I like maybe using some of these. Yeah, maybe just sketch it out with that riff real quick. You know? That guitar thing. That could be kind of cool, maybe. Let's see. Dun, 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 dun. Maybe we don't need this in the intro. Dun, 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 dun. This is my like trash mine over here. User library. This is where I like throw all the cool shit that I've been like working on. Just like the names of different, I don't know. This is like, for example, this is the latest thing I made. I don't even know what the fuck this could be, but I bet you it's like a bass sound or something. Okay, it's Serum. So let me unfreeze this. Don't know why I have an envelope follower in there. Must have been from a project that needed it. Let's see what we got. I got all kinds of, I just like the signal flow, perhaps. User. What do I want to do here? Got so many presets. I don't know if any of this stuff's useful or not. I guess we'll see. So this is like an old preset I made. I was definitely using some of the wavetables that Valentin made. I made a bunch of them though. Damn. For some reason, they're. I think I know why. Let's see here. That's bizarre that some of my directory. You know what it was? It was because I fucking installed John's skin for Serum, and I fucked with my directory in order to do it. But check this out. So, fuck. All right, so the next stream I'll have to move my directory around so I got some of my sounds back, but whatever. I mean, presets are still loading. Some of my wavetables that I made, it doesn't matter. I can make one right now, I guess, if I really wanted to. Might as well, right? Maybe I can make one out of this guitar noise. That'd be kind of interesting. Let's see. Move this up here. Control J. So I made a couple videos where I go into depth about how to do this stuff, how to make wavetables in Serum. Let's see, normalize each. Got to do process. The morph, crossfade. So now we got like a little. So crazy how like just filter stuff in general. Once you kind of got like the parameters, that's the one thing I noticed about like Serum and like a lot of wavetable kind of synths is that once you kind of got like the signal flow set up in there, you can pretty much put almost any sound through there and it sounds very similar, I guess. I think we can get this sounding cooler though. There's the effects section. Man, he did a fucking incredible job on this thing. I hope that he doesn't mind that I'm fucking around with this. He might yell at me later. So let me see what you got over here. Yeah, I actually do use a lot of techniques from Valentin. I've like somewhere, I'm sure a lot of you guys probably have like a combination of people that you are inspired by. I think like one of my biggest inspirations definitely is Feed Me. I think he's always been, even beyond just being a friend, like I always look up to his production style and his engineering. And same thing with Valentin too. And then somewhere in the middle is like my style is like from listening to rock music and figuring out some stuff for myself. But yeah, I mean, my tools probably just like yours are like a combination of like a lot of the music I listen to. But yeah, I also make a lot of my own shit too. So yeah. So we got this one that's like doing the filter movement. Then we got this modulating the pitch. I feel like for like neuro funk sounds, like a big part of kind of their neuro-ness is kind of like the detuned saw kind of vibe, mixed with like some really cool filtering and a lot of like pitch modulation. But you don't have to leave it there. I couldn't like, let's see. I mean, I'm starting with like a neuro kind of sound. Here, I'm going to take this off so we can hear some of the low end. What do I got going on in here? Oh, I see. I got like this whole signal flow set up. So I got this high pass filter. Kind of interesting. Let's see how much more we can fuck with this noise. Maybe turn it into something a little bit different. I don't know. It's possible. Let's see what we got here. So I use this EQ almost like a is this fucking with you guys having this skin? It's like I mean it's fucking beautiful, isn't it? But I'm wondering if it's like distracting. So John didn't add any like new shit to this. Literally, this is Serum, just with a different skin on it. So you guys recognize this shit. Maybe it's easier for me to explain what I'm doing looking at it without that skin. But basically, like, there's so many filters inside Serum, and including like these EQs and stuff. I use these as filters as well, just to like further kind of like sculpt. Anyway. Wow, only one OTT. Can you believe that? Yeah, sorry. I get lost in the tweaking zone sometimes. Let me see what else I got going on here. Oh yeah. So another example of me just like tweaking out a preset that I made earlier. So that was like the same preset basically, that Neurofunk one. Yeah. Kind of cool. I guess the name of the game is to like try to create a whole bunch of these, you know, and you come back to them later once you've made a bunch. And, you know, you feel like you got something to actually start making a tune with. That's my approach to like sound design and stuff, at least. That's from an old tune. All this stuff in here is just, if I got something cool that I really like actually like this death thing, I just throw it in here. And then if I'm working on another project, it's like, oh, maybe that can come in handy. Here's a bass noise from Cold Hearted, for example, with 7 Lions. It's just really helpful. Sometimes instead of saving presets, it's like, you know, you just save the whole rack, you know, which can be helpful, I guess. That could be kind of cool, like, I don't know. Maybe layering that with this like guitar noise that we had. I know I had one that was like super kind of crazy sounding at one point. Yeah. So this approach to sound design is pretty cool. Like, check this out. So it's like a couple parameters. This is something I was working on recently. Almost kind of like the way that I would make like a what's it called? Like a hard trap lead. You know what I'm talking about? Using like detuned saws, I guess, with a trap lead, and then having like a really fast pitch situation going on here. So look if I slow this down. Kind of makes like a kind of like guttural screaming noise. That can sound really cool, I think, layered with that guitar thing. Maybe. Let's see. Maybe like a faster. Yeah, maybe like make this more of like a chug. Drunk, drunk. Sounds pretty cool already, actually. So maybe just use the beginning of it. Yeah, 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 yeah. Let's see. It's kind of cool. It's like the wrong key. You know, it'd be kind of cool too is the kick hits twice on there, like bing, 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 right? Or is it cool with the one? Let's see. Nah, it'd be cool too, man. It's kind of cool without that one there, though. Let's see. Did I ever set up my sidechain? Nope. All right, so check it out. For those that don't know, I'm just going to put the MIDI notes in here. I thought I did set this shit up. Oh, I did set it up, yeah. The intro. So, I'm going to send this now to the sidechain. Boom. And I'm going to send all this bass shit, so what's it called? Synth to sidechain. And we got, this is what happens when you use too many OTTs. So we got to put a gate, which is one way to handle the problem. Fucking hell. Okay, so let's go into sidechain now. All right, there we go. Okay, so we want to hit this hitting twice. Man, you know what? I actually do kind of like it with one. Nah, it's got to have two, I think. Then like that one neuro noise on this thing. Fucking funny sounding. Something really cool you could do with this. Those noises kind of coming in handy, isn't it? What the fuck? Put like an auto filter in there somewhere. I'll get fancy.